Last Sunday, I talked about prayer being a way of embodying a vision of God connected to the little, least, and the powerless, and how in living that vision, we will conflict with the false God made in the image of power. I spoke about how these gods clash, not unlike in the encounter between the great warrior Goliath and the shepherd boy David. As you may remember from that mythic encounter, David was aided by 5 little pebbles from a stream. So this morning I want to talk about 4 of those 5 little pebbles, 4 that I've been aided and sustained by in my attempts to live out that vision of God. And the pebbles that I want to name this morning are children, animals, beauty, and laughter. I heard read a New Zealand version of the old parable, The Emperor's New Clothes. As you might recall, it's a story criticizing pride and power. The emperor, the mayor in this account, thinks he is wearing clothing that only the very intelligent can see, and unprepared to consider that he might not be very intelligent, actually appears in a public parade naked. I pick up the rhyme as the parade begins. The mayor tried his best to walk proudly, his bare belly wobbled and jiggled. Then during a lull in the cheering, a wee nipper started to giggle. "Mum," he chuckled loudly, "the mayor is doing a streak." "Shh," said his mortified mother, "that's quite enough of your cheek." But it seemed that the penny had dropped. Everyone started to grin. The grins turned to sniggers and chuckles. Did all of them see only skin? Note 3 things from this brief extract. Firstly, the person the child is closest to, his mother, reproves him. Secondly, the child states the unadorned truth, the existential reality. And thirdly, the child's honesty and courage engenders a political destabilizing humor that brings down the mighty mayor from his puffed up throne. In Chedmeyer's commentary on our gospel reading today from Mark, he's critical of those who think becoming a child to enter God's kingdom is about childhood innocence or appealing to the child within. Rather, he points out the suffering of children in biblical times, where Myers asks, do we meet children in the Gospel of Mark? In every case, it's in situations of sickness or oppression. Myers draws upon the work of Alice Miller, philosopher, and informs us the child is always the primary victim of practices of domination within the family. If, says Miller, we address and rectify the oppression of children, we will, as a matter of course, bring to an end the perpetuation of violence from generation to generation. What a wonderful thought. What Myers says about children in the New Testament, and Miller says about children in her urban American context, is of course familiar to us in New Zealand. The statistics and reality around the prevalence of child poverty, violence, and our ongoing failure to rectify them are shocking and sobering. So in terms of prayer and embodying the vision, this first little pebble calls us and challenges us to protect, to make room, safe room in our systems, budgets, unitary plans, policies, churches, and society generally, for children and for children's needs and well-being. Then this pebble also invites us to relate to children, to play, to use our imaginations, to honestly name and courageously change realities, to ask any and every impossible question. This pebble invites us to imagine outside the lines, to colour outside the lines, and to laugh a lot. When we make safe and joyous spaces for children, when we question, dream, and laugh lots, the might of Goliath does not seem so mighty. Secondly, animals. I love the story of Balaam's ass. The religious bureaucrats who determine what readings are recited in the church each year always leave out Balaam's ass. Maybe they think we shouldn't laugh when we read the Bible, or maybe they think donkeys don't talk. The hapless donkey tries to avoid danger 3 times, and 3 times is beaten by Balaam, who believes he's quite entitled to beat an animal. Finally, the donkey, via a bit of divine stardust, talks back to Balaam, admonishing him, saying, "Who's the ass now?" Balaam then gets into an argument with the donkey and eventually relents and repents. The lessons are these. Firstly, don't underestimate the wisdom of animals. They see and feel things we don't. To live well with animals, one needs to learn how to cooperate. To live well and sustainably on this planet, we need to learn how to cooperate. Secondly, those who use violence against animals, believing they have every right to do so, are condemned in this story, both by the donkey himself and by the angel. Violence is never justified against an animal or person. Protection of the vulnerable is the defining mark of a mature adult and a mature society. Like with children, this pebble of prayer invites us to be tender, protective, and cooperative. Animals also like to be touched, patted, and stroked. The experience of sitting with a cat on one's lap, stroking it, feeling both comforted and connected, is a common one. I would call it prayer, for it manifests a reality and a vision of mutuality, known as God. And then the cat sinks her claws in, but that's another story. Thirdly, beauty. Beauty is all around us. Just look. In architecture, in art, in music, listen. In candles, in icons, in nature, in relationships, and much more besides. Beauty is all around us, even when and where life is harsh and miserable, if we train our eyes and ears to see and hear it. Such training often happens by learning to be silent, to be still, and to contemplate. Michael Ramsey, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, once wrote that prayer was not pious words or a peculiar way of getting things done. Rather, it was about listening and waiting, being attentive to that which is beyond oneself. The experts in prayer, as Giles Fraser points out, says they're often strange misfits, otherworldly insofar as that they eschew any practical calculation of utility. Prayer is like art, or rather, prayer demands the sort of attention that art demands. It takes time, it requires silence. I find it interesting and instructive that the one Christian denomination that has the best record for advocating for the little, the least, and the powerless is the denomination best known for its long periods of silence in worship. I refer to the Society of Friends or Quakers. It's as if in silently contemplating beauty, and in so doing also that which seeks to destroy beauty, a strong commitment arises to challenge the God made in the image of power and those who serve that God. The fourth pebble is humour. As in both the story about the mare and Balaam's ass, humour and courage are closely linked. Humour upsets those who think they are mighty. It destabilizes them and they don't like it. When we laugh together and joke together, we embody and live into the realm of God. There's a great Bob Fulghum story about the game of hide and seek compared with the game of sardines. In hide and seek, the individual hides until found and then is a loser. The winner is the one who isn't found. At the end, there's only one winner. So hide and seek is a winners-losers vision of the world and of God. In sardines, though, there is only one person hiding. When that person is found, the seeker gets into the hiding place with them, as does the next successful seeker and the next. In the end, they're all discovered, chiefly by the sounds of children piled on top of each other and lots of giggling. This is my sort of vision of the world and church. Being found, being together, and lots of giggling. My last point is that the fifth pebble. I think I'll preach a whole sermon on that on the 29th. So I close with a prayer. To pray is to make room, to enlarge our hearts, to be enlarged by children, animals, beauty and laughter, to be enlarged by the heart of God, so that all the little, least, and the powerless can come in. Let us make room. Let us be that room. Amen.